Hi guys, so I'm back with another video and I'm going to talk about how I gained weight, or sort of like the potential reasons why I got to the place I am today, and also my reasons for wanting to lose the weight. I'm going to probably start off by saying that this video might seem a little bit skittish, or I might not make a lot of sense, but some of the topics that I'm going to go over in this video I haven't really spoken about with anyone really. I mean, I have spoken to therapists about some of the subjects, and my partner, and probably like one member of my family, but it's not something I enjoy talking about, let's just put it that way. It's a very sort of like uncomfortable conversation, and I'll do anything in my power to avoid it. So I think it's probably best to start off with, to start at the start really, and my sort of like earliest memories of food and whatnot, which right back from being like a young toddler, I can remember always sort of like wanting to eat, or like just doing whatever I can to sort of like eat as much as possible. So I'd be watching sort of like a movie or something, say if it's like Rapunzel, or I don't know, anything really, and there'd be sort of like triggers within the movies that would make me want to eat something even if I wasn't hungry. I guess it was just the idea and sort of like the romanticizing of eating. Through talking with therapists about the subject and the potential for other sort of like things that have happened in my life, it's quite clear, well, I say it's quite clear, it feels clear to me that the reason I overate as a child was I was using food in replace of sort of like some kind of comfort, or something that I was missing in my life. I guess, you know, it's really hard to say exactly how, but I just feel like, this might sound a bit crazy, but I feel like my brain responds to food as, you know, maybe with a higher level of some kind of like chemical in your body that makes you feel good. I guess from an early age I've just always kind of felt like food had a massive part of my life, you know. So I've made a couple of like bullet points to try and sort of like go through this in sort of like a manner which seems to make sense, because I do tend to go off track. So I'll try and be as fluent and not just like reading from a script as possible, but it may be quite difficult because, like I said, it's a bit of a hard subject to verbally talk about. So we'll see how I get on. So how I gained, yeah, so childhood obesity. I always had some sort of like issue with emotional eating, always overeating as a child. I didn't really have anyone to sort of like implement or tell me no. You know, I think when I was reaching for the sandwich before my dinner, or eating like a full packet of custard creams, or I feel like I was constantly eating as a child, and nobody ever stepped in and said, no, you've had enough now, you need to like, this is too much, this is unhealthy, or whatever. I don't think that ever came from like a malicious place, but I think it's a parent's role to sort of like implement an eating structure within a child's life, and I feel like I didn't really have that. And like I say, I don't want to like badmouth my parents or make any assumptions or anything like that. And I certainly don't want to come across as ungrateful for having sort of like a full kitchen of food, because I feel like that was a very privileged thing. There's a lot of children that go hungry even in the UK, and I don't want to be sat here whining about the fact that I wasn't told to stop eating, because that's just, you know, incredibly ungrateful. So But on the other hand, I do think it was a bit of a disservice to me as a child, because I didn't have them. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't sort of like have that sort of stop button. I didn't care that I was full. I never seemed to be full. All I cared about was what I was going to eat next. And also the food that we kind of ate on a day-to-day basis as a child was like the kind of typical sort of, you know, sausage, egg and chips. Everything was kind of deep fat fried. I mean, my mum was an awesome cook and she cooked some really lovely things, but I have to say the majority of it was very high in carbohydrates, very high in saturated fat, and there was a huge quantity of it. Like I said, I mean, I had a massive appetite, so I think my mum was thinking that she was doing the kindest thing by providing me with what I wanted, but I think sometimes what you want is not always what's good for you. Yeah, I mean, most children, if you would say to them, do you want a packet of sweets or do you want to eat an apple, they're all going to choose the sweets, because they don't understand as children the implements of health and things like that. I mean, I certainly didn't. So I just think, I don't think I had any care whatsoever. All I cared about was eating. If I ever got any money for like Christmas or things like that, I'd go and like, I remember one occasion going to the shop with my mum, and I had some money from maybe Christmas or Easter or something like that, and I bought like a multi-pack bag of Skips. I think it must have had like 12 packets of Skips in there, and I probably ate it within the hour, like just one after the other, endlessly, carelessly eating. So yeah, so there was obviously a huge problem there somewhere. I don't know whether it was like a genetic thing, like an imbalance within my sort of like mental health, or what like the situation was. But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find that out. I'm trying to sort of like be as knowledgeable as possible with my own experiences, so that I can go forward and not suffer with these problems again. Yeah, so I also was very sedentary as a child. I didn't really do much activities. I kind of like, probably the only time I would do any activities were when I was at school. But then when I got to high school, I'd always have like a note for PE, because I was so embarrassed and so ashamed of, like, you know, you just don't want to give the bullies another reason to like give you stick. I think PE was just a huge like overwhelming thought at the time. I just didn't want to have any part of it whatsoever, whether it was getting changed in the changing rooms or whether it was, you know, doing the actual physical activity. I don't know why I was so terrified of it, but I was. So yeah, so I was very sedentary. I used to kind of go camping every summer, and I think like looking back at photos of myself as a child, I think I'd do lots of activity there. I'd be riding my bike, I'd be like walking, following streams to see where they went, and just running around and just being a proper active little kid. And I probably lost a little bit of weight over the summer, but then throughout the sort of like the other months when I was at home, it would all come back. And as the years went on, that just got worse and worse and worse. And it wasn't really until I was probably about 15 that things started to change. I think I was stuck in this like this vicious cycle of being unhappy and eating, and then sort of being unhappy because of like whatever was going on at home or whatever was going on at school, and sort of eating to suppress them emotions, and then being unhappy with how I looked, and then it was just a constant vicious cycle that just did not seem to stop. I think ultimately my childhood was mainly, I was mainly eating food, or what, from what I've kind of like come to the conclusion of, I was mainly eating food as a child to distract myself from my emotions or not feel them. I guess that's what I've come to sort of like believe. So that just went on. I was really heavy. Probably, I don't really have any number in terms of on the scale what I weighed, but I know clothing size wise, when I was 13 I was a size, between a size 22 and 24. And I remember that figure specifically because I can remember going to go get my new school uniform and my mum being really annoyed at me because it was just such a nightmare, like trying to find a school uniform that fit. My school had quite a strict uniform, and you had to wear a certain kind of grey trouser, and it was just a nightmare, even in the ladies like bigger sizes. And I think at that time as well, you didn't have the options you have now. It was very kind of like, I don't know, I think for my mum, because she's never really suffered with that problem, it was quite an embarrassment for her, and that definitely rubbed off on me. I felt quite embarrassed and ashamed of my body size. But yeah, like I said, I can remember specifically the size because I can remember being in the cubicle and trying on the size 22 that we'd like magically found, you know, and it was like, oh, thank God we've found these trousers and everything's okay, and me trying them on and being like, oh, they don't fit. So that definitely sticks in my head. So I don't know what I would have weighed. Probably about 16 stone, maybe 16 pushing set. I don't know. I can only really go off what I know to be true, and that's the size. So it was around size 24. And then, so yeah, when I kind of stayed in and didn't really go out, but then I think at around the age of 14, 15, I started sort of like hanging out with my friends, and I didn't really get pocket money. So if I wanted to meet them, I'd have to kind of like walk into town and meet them, or walk to their house and stuff. I mean, I did occasionally get like bus fare and things, but I do a lot of walking. And I remember over one summer, probably between the ages of 14 and 15, so what would I have been in at school, probably year 10 that summer, I just naturally lost a lot of weight, not through any effort, but just through, so I'd sort of like walk and meet my friend, and then we'd walk around town, you know, just kind of like what you do as a young teen, hanging out. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't really have any pocket money or anything, so I didn't like get food or snacks when I was out. So I'd be walking around all day, not really eating, and then coming home and having sort of like still quite an unhealthy meal, but obviously the deficit in calories and energy I'd expended throughout the day was quite significant, because when I went back to school, people like didn't recognize me, and they was asking like, what, you know, all the kind of popular girls were coming up to me asking me what I did to lose weight, and I was actually really embarrassed, and I didn't personally notice the change too much. So I kind of felt like they were just taking the piss, but I had actually lost a lot of weight. And it wasn't until somebody who was sort of like quite friendly to me, wasn't a friend, but they sort of made a big statement about it, and I was like, oh, I must have actually lost weight, which was interesting. So then I kind of like, the same thing was happening. I was still eating quite a lot and still had the same problems, but it wasn't as, I think I had a lot of distractions in life, like hanging out with friends and things like that. It didn't seem to be as I don't think my focus was as much on food. So then, and then I started skating, which was a huge change in my lifestyle. Like I said, I'd take a note to PE every lesson and just wasn't really into sport, didn't enjoy it, didn't like it. But then there I was, I found this sport at 16 that I absolutely loved, and I definitely say I committed sort of like on a Sunday I'd go to the skate park and I'd skate from when it opened at 10 till when it closed at 6, all day long, skating, being active. And this had a huge implement on my life, because then I started to realise the importance of being healthy, the importance of giving your body good nutrition to be better at a sport or to be better in general. And it even got to a point where I became quite obsessed with like nutrition, and I'd sort of like read books about nutrition, I'd watch documentaries, and just become generally more informed and more knowledgeable. I think having the internet, we didn't get the internet in my house until I was about 17, and I think when I got the internet and I could inform myself on certain things, that really helped. And yeah, I tried, there was a period of time where I tried to eat as organically and naturally as possible. And yeah, I mean, I don't think weight loss was a huge sort of like goal. I think being healthy and fit and strong was a goal. I remember sort of like getting the Wii Fit and being absolutely obsessed with like the yoga, and yeah, so I guess I had a huge shift in lifestyle at that point. I think like my meeting my boyfriend as well at the time and having sort of like a physical connection with somebody really helped. So yeah, so that kind of like, it kind of changed for a little bit, and then so I sort of like was reasonably healthy for a period of time. I'm just gonna sort of like look at my notes and see. So yeah, I sat for many years at 11 stone, and my weight would fluctuate a little bit, maybe go up to the very highest 12.5 stone, but I'd always rein it in and I'd never let it get out of hand. And within sort of like 4 weeks I'd be back at 11 stone and be healthy and do lots of activity and whatnot. But it kind of all changed about 4 or 5 years ago, when I had somewhat of a mental breakdown. So I had something really terrible happen, or quite a few terrible things happen in my personal life. And it was like a domino effect of one trauma after another. And I think that sort of like led up to really, really poor lifestyle choices. And I don't really want to go into too much detail as to what them lifestyle choices are. I just don't feel comfortable being as vulnerable to expose it like factually, but I can talk about it in a way that makes sense to this sort of like video. Yeah, so my lifestyle choices were incredibly unhealthy for both my body and my mind. And I think, not my weight, I don't think my weight was an issue while I was going through this, let's call it mental breakdown. I hate that term, and I hate sort of like referring to it as that, because to me it was just life and it went very, very wrong. But I guess the whole part of healing is expression on sort of like where life didn't quite go to plan, and sort of accepting it and forgiving yourself for it, and then reflecting on it and then moving on from it. So yeah, so I didn't really have a very healthy lifestyle in terms of like, I'd probably go a few days without eating very much at all. So in terms of, I think I replaced the food with other things, let's just put it that way. And I don't think that, I still ate really unhealthily, but let's just say it was not an issue in terms of me being overweight. But having said that, when I started to change my lifestyle, which now that particular thing has no place in my life whatsoever, but I think the implications of moving on in life and getting over that lifestyle choice or whatever, it's had a lasting effect, because you know, if you have a certain lifestyle and then you change it, I think it's kind of like when people stop smoking and then they replace the habit with food. So we already know, like, I habitually have this issue with eating to fill voids, so just eating more in general probably led to me gaining weight. But I think the whole sort of like emotional eating situation came back with a vengeance. It was just like laying dormant there for a period of time, and then just reared its ugly head in all its wonderful glory. So so I think, so yeah, so I've always suffered with mental illness, like most people have. I think everyone has parts of their sort of like mental health which they struggle with. There's some very lucky individuals that don't really have a problem, but I kind of feel a little bit more enlightened at the fact that I can relate to a lot of people through my own experiences. But they did come, like this time around, lots of things like went wrong because I couldn't process my emotions really. So I started drinking quite a lot, and I didn't really used to drink like I think my early teens to late teens to sort of like maybe like early 20s, I didn't drink at all. I had no interest in it, no sort of like, I didn't really go out on nights out and things like that. My kind of wild party rebellious stage came when I was like 26, but I started drinking quite a lot, more often than not, and I'd say over the last 2 years it's been, I'd drink more days throughout the week than I wouldn't. Now, on top of my emotional eating taking control again, and sort of other lifestyle factors, the sort of like extra 1,000 calories every couple of days, or sometimes probably even more, has resulted in I'd say a good proportion of the weight that I've gained now. I think I've probably gained at least 2 stone worth of alcohol. I think that's an easy assumption to make actually, because if you consider the calories in the alcohol and the days that I would drink, yeah, easily 2 stone. And then obviously drinking comes with the takeaway, and then the hangover the next morning, and just horrendous. So yes, and then when I gained, so then a couple of years, maybe about a year or so ago, just over a year ago, I gained like, I realised I gained a lot of weight, and then I went to, I tried so hard to get everything under control, and I lost about 2.5 stone, but then something happened and it just, emotional eating again. So another one of the other things over the last couple of years which really has contributed to me gaining a lot of weight is I suffer with a binge eating and purging disorder. So I would obviously eat quite a lot and purge, thinking that I still don't know why that happened, and it's another subject that's really uncomfortable for me to talk about. So I want to try and I want to include it in this because it's a huge contributing factor to why I gained weight, and I want to admit it to myself and realise how integral it was to me gaining this weight, because I don't want to gain anymore, and I want to tackle this once and for all. I want to get over it. So not admitting it or not including it, I would just be giving myself a huge disservice. So yeah, so it's been there in my life, not from a young teen or anything like that, but definitely throughout parts of my life I've binged and purged. But let's just say in the last 2 years it became a real problem, and I got to the point where it was happening most days. Thankfully now I can't remember the last time it happened. Probably summertime maybe. But yeah, I kind of feel like I've got the reins of that at the moment, and I'm not under any sort of like illusion that it's completely gone. But part of this process will also be identifying why that happened. Maybe I think if I can take control of my emotional eating, then I can take control of that for the rest of my life. And I realized like that therapists would tell me like the implications on health that it would have, and I knew myself as well, like I'm quite like an intelligent person, and I know that doing that is really detrimental to your body, like it's so bad. But obviously it wasn't ever a conscious choice to do. So yeah, that was pretty, I think that really didn't help, because I don't know if you're aware, but although purging gets rid of the food from a binge, it does not get rid of the calories. So it's a huge misconception, I think, in society that everyone who has an eating disorder is painfully small. I think it's a shift needs to happen in the narrative of eating disorders, because there's so many people out there that probably would have been like myself, that was terrified to go to a doctor and admit what was happening to them, because I'm getting quite emotional actually, wow. Because embarrassment, like how can you have an eating disorder? You're overweight. It's like, it's really silly, because I don't think any doctor who's worth, you know, seeing would ever discriminate you because of your weight. But I do think it's quite like a secret thing, and I think that's why a lot of people with an eating disorder like binging and purging don't get the help that they need or they deserve. I mean, I'm really fortunate in the fact that I've managed to take control of it without it getting to without it becoming more of an issue. But I don't know what the future holds for me, and this whole process is part of making sure that I can sort of like live a happy and healthy life. So I've never really felt comfortable about speaking about it, because it was a secret thing. It was my secret thing. But yeah, it definitely goes without saying that was a huge contribution to the weight that I've gained over the last 2 years. So I think, just to like recap, I think probably one of the sort of overall contributors to my weight gain has been my emotional eating and how my mental health has impacted on the way I eat, what I eat, when I don't eat, when I do eat, that kind of thing. And just using food as a replacement for rather than feeling my emotions and that kind of thing. I think also, you know, I became incredibly lazy and didn't have an active lifestyle like I used to. I became complacent. I don't want to sort of like give myself an excuse and say, oh, I had this problem and this problem and this problem, therefore it wasn't my fault, because I still made those choices and it still is my fault. I'm not gonna become a martyr of the situation. I decided, you know, what happened. It's just all these things are elements into sort of like the overall reason as to why. So I'm kind of like going over them and putting it out there, because I think a lot of people silently suffer. And if you're sort of watching this and some things seem similar, or something is, you know, you're suffering with something in your life, please realise that things can get better and they will get better. You just have to embrace the option of change, and it's not easy. It really isn't easy, and it can be such a habit. And when you are dealing with something that's, you know, when you are dealing with mental health implications and they have an effect on your weight, whether it's, you know, that you can't put weight on because of anxiety and worry or that kind of thing, or whether you're an emotional eater like me and you sort of like eat your feelings, whether they're happy or sad, it's really hard. It is. And I think I've got to this place now by sort of accepting that doing the same thing isn't going to give me what I want in life. And that's probably a perfect moment to move on to why I want to lose weight. So reasons why I want to lose weight. I think it's quite silly, but I really want to live for a long time. I want to live a really long life. I want to see the world change, hopefully for the better. I want to have a long life, and I'm not going to have a long life if I continue to eat and do the things to my body that I have done over the past couple of years. I need to change it. If I expect to live, I mean, ideally I'd love to live to like 100. And there's no way that I'm going to get there or live a long, happy, healthy life with the lifestyle that I currently have. So yeah, so I'd love to live a really long life. I really want to feel content and comfortable in my body. I don't want to have to sit down and like have to put my arms over my tummy to try and hide my tummy rolls. I don't want to have to like walk around feeling like just uncomfortable. It got to the point where standing up felt uncomfortable because I could feel my back fat push against the bottom of my back, and it was just, I just did not feel comfortable in any way. So I just want to feel content and happy and comfortable with the body that I have, and I want to be proud of my body. I want to be really happy and proud to sort of like say, this is me, this is who I am, and at this moment in time I'm not proud to do that. And I think it shows in your happiness level that when you are not proud of yourself, it has a knock-on effect on a lot of other areas of your life. And then, you know, obviously I want to be healthier. I want to feel strong. I want to feel fit, and I want to be able to sort of like One of my passions is long distance walking, and I want to be able to go and climb a mountain without feeling like my lungs are going to fall out of my ass. So, you know, all the sort of like health benefits of being lighter and healthier in general, I think that's a given. I think I would be totally lying to myself and you all if I didn't say there's like vanitary reasons as to why I want to lose weight, because I love clothes. I love, like, I always have, but don't think I've ever been able to sort of like wear the kind of clothes that I want to wear. So a big thing is so that I can sort of like wear comfortably the clothing and the outfits and that kind of thing that I want to wear. It's quite funny actually. In I think it was maybe the end of September, I placed an order on ASOS, and I was in complete denial about how much weight I'd gained. I think a lot of my clothing had started to get to the point where they still fit, but they just didn't look good. You could tell that they were too tight, but I was still, like I say, I was in complete denial of how much I'd actually gained and whatnot. So I think when I was ordering clothes, I was still, in my head, I was still the weight and the size that I was like years ago. But it's been a lifelong dream, and this is going to be so pathetic to so many people, but I don't care. It's been a lifelong dream for me to wear like knee-high boots. I've always had, my bottom half of my body is where I hold most of my weight, and I've always had very large calves. Now I think skating probably aided to the muscle on my calves and stuff, but I've always had quite big calves, and I've never really been able to wear boots. But I saw these boots on ASOS along with a load of other clothes that I ordered and didn't fit me, and I just absolutely fell in love. It makes my soul do a little happy dance to see these boots. So I ordered them. Like, they're nothing like incredibly special. They're just like knee-high boots with these that lace up at the side, and then they have a zip. Now the calf section is actually already quite big. Like, if you look, they're already like a substantial thing, and then the zip down the side and then zip back up, you know, like most boots. But I saw them, fell in love with them, and ordered them. Now, like most other boots throughout my life that I've tried on, they didn't fit. But I kind of felt like with these ones, because they were laced up, that I would be able to sort of like make the laces wider. But anyway, they still didn't fit like they were. I undid the laces so much, like, and like, this is horrendous. Like, to think that doesn't fit my calf leg, it's just so upsetting to me. And I know it's really superficial, but it's just something that I've always really wanted. I've always really got, it's like, I love autumn. It's one of my favorite seasons, and I love like you know, putting on a dress and some really lovely tights, and then boots and like a nice coat, and like, it's just all I want. Honestly, it would make me so incredibly happy if come autumn 2021 these fit. So yeah, I guess one of the reasons I want to lose weight is so I can get into some boots. How pathetic is that? But I'm just going to be true. I'm going to be true and honest to myself, and then maybe I will actually get somewhere with this. But yeah, just in general, like, wanting to sort of like wear the clothes. And this is not saying that people of a certain size can't wear certain clothes, or can't. Anybody of any age and any size can wear whatever the hell they want. Like this, I'm not saying that people can't wear a certain clothing because of whatever. I'm saying I don't feel comfortable in the clothing I want to wear, and that's what this is about. It's about me. It's not about what other people are doing. It's about what I feel. So please don't be offended if you're sort of like a similar size and you are rocking it and you've got all the confidence in the world. I'm so happy for you, but I don't. So this is the issue here. So yeah, so wanting to be able to sort of like, I guess the overall idea of why I want to lose weight is I want to, first and foremost, I want to be healthy and fit. I want to feel healthier. I want to feel strong. I want to feel content and comfortable with my body. I don't want to feel like I'm having to hide it, or it just causes a great element of anxiety thinking about certain scenarios and like, what am I going to wear? What's going to make me look, what am I going to feel comfortable in? What's going to make me look my best, and this and the other. And I just, if I feel like them, the great analogy that one of my therapists taught me was to imagine you've got a backpack on, and everything, all your stress and anxieties and things like that are rocks in the backpack. So the more that you have in, obviously the heavier the weight of everything is. And if I could take them out, like all these things, it might seem really superficial, but it's what I care about. I care about being healthy. I care about being nutritionally well. I care about clothes. I like them a lot. Bloody hell, I've got a wardrobe full of amazing clothes that I can't wear, and I've got, you know, outfits saved that won't fit. So I guess that's it really. That's kind of like a bit of a reflection as to why I've gained the weight and why I want to lose it. I think, you know, it'd be good, this video is going to be good for me to kind of like come back and reflect on every sort of like month or so, just to keep this narrative fresh. I think a lot of the time when we start on a new journey or have goals to achieve, like we start off really strong, and then we kind of forget why we started. And I think this is great for me because I can go back and like maybe recap and refresh and hopefully keep the goal close to my heart and close with me every day. But yeah, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed hearing me ramble on about how I gained weight and all my reasons as to why I want to lose it. I hope it made some kind of sense, because I don't feel like I don't know what I've just said. So I really hope that when I put this up there, people aren't like, what the hell is she talking about, a rambling fool. My next video is going to be my weigh-in on Friday this week. So I've also decided that I'm going to do, I've realised I've like done no like full shots of my body. So I think on Friday it marks my 4th weigh-in. So I think every 4th weigh-in I'm going to do a full body shot. I might even take like measurements as well, because I imagine the more weight I lose, the like less I'll see on physical like scale. I think off scale victories are something that really help when you don't have a loss of actual weight that week. I think it's good to sort of like have other things to rely on to help motivate you and realize that you are heading in the right direction. So yeah, so I'm every 4th weighing I'm going to do a full body shot, and then hopefully we'll see it getting smaller and firmer over the course of the year. So yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and if you are on a journey of weight loss, or you think that your videos will help me with my journey, please give me a comment so that I can go check out your videos. And if you want to keep up to date with what I'm doing, like I say, my weigh-in videos go up every Friday, but there is going to be occasions like this one where I'll make a bit of a rambly video, or maybe like what I eat in a day or that kind of thing. And if you want to keep up to date with them, if you subscribe or hit the notifications bell, you'll always be notified when that happens. But thank you so much, and I am really excited to see if I've had a loss or how I'm getting on Friday. So yeah, so thank you for watching. Goodbye.